Hello, this is Domenico with Easynomics, and today we're going to go over a higher level topic within macroeconomics, which is automatic stabilizers, and we're going to utilize the business cycle to illustrate how automatic stabilizers impact the oscillations or fluctuations of that cycle. This video will be part of a few playlists that will be linked in the video notes below. For every video, if you would scroll down and click on the Show More button, you'll see full outlines to everything that's discussed within every single video, which is an additional great resource for you as students or teachers to utilize. So please be aware of that, and there will be links to the playlists and videos that I refer to in every video. So here you can see the playlist here for macroeconomic objectives, low unemployment, and low inflation. And then this video will be part of that, and perhaps a couple other playlists. Okay, so let's start digging into the IB. So according to the IB Economic Guide 3.1, 3.6, 3.1 asks that students, standard and higher level, be able to measure economic activity and illustrate its variations through the business cycle, which we'll go over in this video. And the business cycle illustrates the short-term fluctuations and long-term growth trend, or the potential output, which is a representation, which is represented within the Matras model through the long run aggregate supply curve. 3.6, demand management, fiscal policies. HL students are required to define, explain automatic stabilizers, which include progressive taxes and unemployment benefits, and then we can use the business cycle to illustrate its impact on the oscillations of that cycle. So just to go over some vocabulary, automatic stabilizers, as we can see here, government spending and taxes that occur automatically. So this is what we call non-discretionary fiscal spending. They include automatic stabilizers, progressive income taxes, corporate taxes, and unemployment benefits. They stabilize the economy without any new laws being created. The two primary automatic stabilizers are progressive income taxes, so that within an economic boom and an economic expansion, when GDP is rising year after year, we would expect that productivity is up, GDP per capita income is rising, and that may push households up into higher income tax brackets. And as a result, that would increase the total tax collected by the central government. And that would reduce or automatically reduce the disposable income that households have, reducing their consumption spending. In a recession, the opposite is the case. GDP is falling, per capita income is falling, household income is falling. So that might push households and individuals into lower tax brackets where they're able to keep more of their disposable income, enabling them to continue to spend on necessities, perhaps a couple of luxuries, to maintain consumption spending during a recession. So that prevents the recession from going very deep, households able to maintain a certain degree of income. And with regards to unemployment benefits as an automatic stabilizer, during recession, unemployment benefits rise. More people are becoming unemployed, and the government will automatically begin providing unemployment benefits as if that's part of their government policy. And that would increase government payouts, spending for the unemployment insurance and other social safety net programs. And that cash injection would help the unemployed workers maintain basic consumption for necessities, maintain a degree of consumption spending. And during the boom, firms are gaining more revenue, spending is up, revenue is up, firms will be able to employ more of the unemployed. So unemployment would fall, and as a result, people would no longer would qualify to collect unemployment benefits from the government. And so during the boom, households would generate their own income and would not get the additional unemployment benefits to continue to also spend into the economy. So that kind of dampens the economic boom to a degree. All right, so here we can summarize that automatic stabilizers are a kind of economic shock absorber during the up and downsides of the business cycle. They do not prevent a recession or a boom from happening, but they do decrease the amplitude of the business cycle, the severity of the peaks and troughs of the business cycle. Okay, so that's just an overview that you would be explaining, demonstrating your knowledge by defining these terms, explaining what progressive income taxes are and how they impact economic booms and recessions in terms of household spending, and the impact of unemployment benefits on the up and down sides of the business cycle. All right, so let's go ahead and summarize this. During an economic recession, GDP is down. We're going into the trough of the business cycle. Here we have a fall in aggregate demand driven by reduced household spending, consumption spending, leading to reduced revenue for firms. Firms will begin to fire. Unemployment rises, and we have GDP falling. Automatic stabilizers, the non-discretionary fiscal policies will kick into gear. Government tax revenue would fall. Governments would be collecting less income tax revenue from households because there's more unemployment. While the government will increase government spending, and that impact, the automatically creates a budget deficit, could contribute to the public debt. The public debt could be rising as a result, depending on the country. And it injects liquidity, cash, into the economy, keeping the multiplier effect by the government providing unemployment benefits to the unemployed by collecting less income tax revenue from households that fall into lower income tax brackets. And it keeps the economy from spiraling downward into a recessionary spiral. It sets a floor under AD and makes the recession shallower, as we'll illustrate in the business cycle. In terms of the expansion, the economy is growing, GDP is up. Problem, AD is growing too fast. It's creating an inflationary gap, risking high demand pull inflation and an overheated economy. The stabilizer kicks in, tax revenue spikes, households generate more income, so the government's going to collect more income tax revenue, and welfare spending on unemployment benefits will fall. That might reduce the budget deficit, maybe even create a budget surplus where governments can pay down public debt. The impact, this automatically creates a budget surplus, depending on the country, or at least reduces the budget deficit. It leaks money from the circular flow because governments are collecting more income tax revenue, maybe even more corporate tax revenue, wealth tax revenue, reducing disposable income for households, maybe even for firms, slowing the growth of AD to prevent a severe inflationary gap. Okay, so that's the overall idea. So let's go ahead and illustrate the business cycle. All right, and all of this will be in the video notes below. Just go below, click show more, and you can see these notes. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw the business cycle. There's a way to demonstrate our understanding of the impact of automatic stabilizers on that cycle. So this is a higher level topic. So on the y-axis, we're measuring real GDP. And on the x-axis, we're measuring time. Okay, and the business cycle is a good representation of what we see with real data. For example, here's the US GDP growth rate, and we're measuring the percentage of growth, 5%, 5.7% growth in the quarter one, 7% growth in quarter two, 3.3% growth in 2021, 7%, and then it falls. Here's the impact of the COVID pandemic, incredible reduction in consumption spending and aggregate demand and GDP, and then growth being achieved again, then falling, etc. So graphically, it could look something like this. And so here we can see the oscillations of the business cycle over time, and that's what this model is illustrating. Okay, so first I would draw the long-run growth trend. Let's see what color I'll use. This color. Yep. And the long-run growth trend, it's rising over time. Productivity, GDP, new technologies, new innovation, creating rising GDP over time. In theory, perhaps now as we enter the limitations of our fixed and finite resources, there's only so much petroleum, natural gas, other resources on the earth. So you might see in your lifetime the long-run growth trend rising, maybe even leveling off, and maybe even declining. But in theory, it's rising. So here we'll have this illustrated and labeled. This will be the long-term growth trend. So this is showing GDP on average over time. Growth trend. And this is a representation of potential GDP, or potential output for a particular country when we're at the natural rate of unemployment, or when we're employing the average amount of people within an economy. All right, and then we can go ahead and illustrate the business cycle without the automatic stabilizers, and perhaps it's going to look something like this. It's rising, it's peaking, it's declining, and then falling, going back towards the trend. Then we go into greater contraction. It falls into recession, hits its bottom, begins to rise again, goes back towards the trend, etc. All right, so that's enough. And we can label some points to help us with our explanation. So here we can say we're at point A, we're at full potential GDP, the economy is expanding, revenue is rising, spending is rising, revenue is rising for firms, they employ more workers, going from point A to point B. So this is an expansionary period, this is an inflationary period. And then we start to experience contraction in the economy, going from point B to, let's say, point C. I'll label this A1, B1, C1. Then we go to the trough, D1, and let's say this is back to potential E1. Okay. So B1 here is the peak, just as some additional labeling. Here's the peak. D1 is the trough. Okay. And we can make note that from B1, actually, let's do it like this. Give me a second here. From B1 to about D1, this is the contraction. So here we have the contraction. And then from D1 onwards, that could be the expansion. All right, just to be mindful of that. So here we have, let's see how I'm going to draw this. I'm going to draw this sideways. Expansion. Okay, so that's some of the basic labeling, at least peak, trough, A1, B1, C1, D1. And we want to be mindful that from B1 to D1, GDP quarter after quarter, year after year is declining. It's becoming less and less and less. And then from D1 onwards, it's rising quarter after quarter, year after year, and there's the expansion. Okay, the inflationary gap occurs from point A to B1. Here we have the inflationary gap. The recessionary gap is essentially occurring from C1 to D1, more or less. Okay. So what about illustrating the impact of the automatic stabilizers? So we can use an additional line. I'll use this. I'll go from A1 to B2. I'll just draw it. And then from C1 to D2 and onwards. Okay. Make this a bit bigger. So here we're going. Okay, so something like that. And then I can illustrate some additional points to highlight the impact of the automatic stabilizers. So here we have, I'll label this B2, and then I'll label this D2, and then highlight that the automatic stabilizers is reducing the severe expansion of the business cycle, and it's pushing up the severe recession of the business cycle. Okay, so we can start off by highlighting in our analysis. Here we have the business cycle. It's graph A. Okay, and on the x-axis we're measuring time, the y-axis we're measuring real GDP. We have an upward sloping long-term growth trend showing our potential output when we're at the natural rate of unemployment. For the United States, natural rate of unemployment is about 5%. We're employing 95% of our labor force. So on average, our productivity can be achieved at point A1, point C1, and point E1. We're at that long-term growth trend. We're at full potential GDP. Without the automatic stabilizers, there is no income tax revenue. Let's assume there is no unemployment benefits being provided. So the economy would naturally expand an inflationary gap from A1 to B1. Households are generating more income. They're not being taxed on an income that provides more disposable income to spend, more revenue. And so the economy is severely expanding, and we experience an inflationary gap. We experience demand pull inflation. And then households perhaps build up household debt. They got to pay down that debt. They have to cut spending, we're assuming. And then the households, as they cut back on spending, less revenue for firms. Firms generating less revenue will have to cut their costs of production, which includes labor. So unemployment starts to rise. And if households are becoming unemployed, they're going to spend less revenue, more firing, more unemployment. So the economy begins to contract from B1 to C1 to D1. Here we're going into a recessionary gap. Okay. In terms of the automatic stabilizers, we see that economies don't expand severely up to B1. They actually perhaps go to a point like B2, because as households generate more income, they're going to be in a higher income tax bracket, and the government will withdraw more income tax from those households to reduce their consumption spending. So that's going to push down on the business cycle from B1 to B2, for example. Then let's say the economy does not fall deep into recession at D1 as a result of, again, with the income tax system, households might be falling into lower income tax brackets, and as a result may keep more of their income and be able to maintain some disposable income to spend on necessities, to maintain consumption spending. So the economy goes to D2 as opposed to a deeper recession at D1. In addition, for households that are becoming unemployed, they collect unemployment benefits to maintain their household spending on necessities. Without those unemployment benefits, the economy could fall deeper into recession at D1. But because unemployed households gain income to cover their necessities, spend on their necessities, the economy only falls to D2. Okay? So that's how you can explain the impact of automatic stabilizers, progressive income taxes, unemployment benefits, and how it reduces the fluctuations or the oscillations of the business cycle. Okay? If you have any questions, you can comment those questions below, and don't forget to subscribe and to like. Thank you so much.